You too. What's the big old deal, man? This is y'all favorite hood partner, Big Nina Boy, and we back with another one. Oh man, hey man, it's getting tricky out here, man, with this all this big U content, man. So before we get into it, though, right? I was telling y'all earlier that a person with nothing to help you lose everything. Smelling what I'm selling, like you gotta be real careful on who you give your time to, bro, because it's a lot of people out here that's wasting your time, your energy, all that shit, man. A motherfucker with nothing, you see what I'm saying, will help you lose everything you work so hard for, man. And a lot of y'all here still thinking you can play in them streets, knowing you got that 9 to 5, you got that car note, you got that rent, you know what I'm saying, child support, and a lot of you niggas out here, niggas still hanging like it's back 2013. Like, yeah, man, I'm going to get that shit. Knowing you getting drug tested, nigga, with your probation and all that shit, right? But man, on the real slide though, man, before we get into the content, just remember people smile in your face just to compete with you. You know what I'm saying? They smile in your face and be in secret competition with you. And, a lot of these niggas out here, man, you got to do a circle check. Everybody ain't your partner. Everybody ain't your dog, man. So that being said, let's get to the content. All right, so allegedly, this is why Big U, all right, put that in the title. I need to fix that. This is why Big U allegedly killed Rayshawn Williams, because he was dating his son. So, a content creator, they pulling up all the content. Now, we heard this before. This is definitely alleged, but there were rumors that Big U's son was dating Rayshawn Williams. They were best friends. They played football. They did everything together. Now, me personally, I'm not going to say that that's facts because I don't know. I don't know neither one of the gentlemen. But at the end of the day, man, y'all got to realize it's 2000 and, in 2025, 26, 23, 24. Hey, man, sometimes, when people grow up together and stuff, they become lovers. They understand each other. And it's a lot of that going on in this generation, man. A lot of these partners of y'all, they be secretly in love with you. You know what I'm saying? You never know. He might try to sneak in for a kiss. You know what I'm saying? You might not reject that. You just never know, man. And at the end of the day, hey, if somebody like chili on their hot dog, that's their prerogative. So with that being said, let's get to the content. I'm personally not going to accuse that, but hey, I just follow the content, man. So that being said, let's get to it. God, please do not let me laugh during this live. Let's get it. Let's go.
Big U is in federal custody right now. Prosecutors say they have probable cause to believe that he killed a man in Las Vegas in 2021, then dragged his body into the desert.
A woman who knew him says that he has had a positive impact on the community.
He was incredible, whether it was a 7-year-old child or a 50-year-old former gang member coming out of incarceration. His ability to communicate and relate was excellent. If these charges are true, because they're still allegations, they are not a done deal. They're allegations.
Say, bro, some of y'all boys be tripping me out in the comment section. Also, you read the factual basis and now you're a federal prosecutor. Let me help you out because clearly nobody explained this to you. A factual basis is the government story. It is a collection of allegations, unproven, untested, and not yet examined by a single defense attorney in front of a single juror. It's not evidence. It's not a conviction. It's not the truth. It's what prosecutors claim happened. And in the United States of America, last time I checked, a man is innocent until the government proves otherwise beyond a reasonable doubt in an actual courtroom. So pump your brakes, because the comment section treating the factual basis like a signed confession is exactly the kind of uninformed take that this video is about to correct. You heard me? Now, I'm not a federal defense attorney at all, but even I can see the holes in this case from a mile away. So let's run it, because what a good defense attorney do with the government's own document is take it apart from the inside using the government's own words. This is exactly what we're about to do, you dig? Let's start with the person the government leans on most heavily to play Big U at the scene on the night RW was murdered. Witness 1, the security guard employed at the recording studio. This is the man who provides the timeline of arrivals and departures, who describes Big U returning to the studio in the early morning hours, appearing drenched, and whose account lays out the most.
All right, so that security guard is the guy that's going to testify in regards to Rayshawn Williams' case. Now, by him testifying makes this case is bad because you can't afford to have anybody testify on, the prosecution side. You see what I'm saying? By him testifying, that phone conversation and him removing evidence, that was the only way he can be clear free by testifying against Big U. Now, it just didn't add up. A lot of people want to say the music, bro. You see what I'm saying? But let's just double back. Let's double back real fast. You got a son, he's prominent, he's going to college. You know what I'm saying? The first one in your bloodline to do it, you know what I'm saying? Hypothetically speaking, you find out that your son best friend been trying to get with him and expressing his feelings on how he loved him and what they did. It was magical. And I think you should tell your dad or parents, whatever it is, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? I could see that scenario like, oh, wait a minute. You you trying to dig in my son or something, nigga? Yeah. You in love with my Nah, my son going to college, nigga. Nah, my son going to the NFL. You quit football, nigga. You want to be a rapper? Hell nah, nigga. We run around with no pipe dreams and shit. And you ain't gonna be sticking nothing in my motherfucking son. That shit, man, boy. All right. I ain't gonna unallow you. Yeah, I get these niggas come kick your ass around here. You know what I'm saying? But nah, just hypothetically speaking as a scenario, that could cause a father to want to, you know what I'm saying? Hey, this can't never come out. The leader of a gang, you see what I'm saying? And all of this crazy ass shit, I can just see that narrative, bro. But I'm definitely saying alleged. I do not believe that his son was lovers with his best friend and none of that. I don't believe it, but we got to follow the content. Thank God I don't drop original content. I just react to it. So let's go.
Critical hours of the government's entire murder narrative. Say, bro, let me tell you this here. The government is required to disclose that witness one has misappropriated money from his employers and had a judgment entered against him. That is the government's primary scene witness, a man with a documented history of stealing from the people who trusted him with access and responsibility. A good defense attorney does not just mention that in passing. It opened a cross-examination with it. They make sure every juror in that box understand that the person telling them where Big U was and what he looked like at 2 a.m. is the same person who has been proven to take things that don't belong to him. Those specific details are a gift to the defense, you heard me? It establishes unworthiness out the gate. The government's theory of motive centers on a diss song that R.W. recorded 5 days before his death. In it, R.W. rapped about something with money, reference getting shot in the face for thinking something was funny, and mentioned the 38 revolver with no trace. R.W. was later shot in the face, apparently with a revolver that left no shell casings. The government argues that this is not coincidence, that the song was directed at Big U, and that what R.W. rapped about foreshadowed his own murder at the hands of the man he was dissing. That is a compelling narrative. Here is the sentence from the government's own filing that a good defense attorney reads out loud to the jury and then lets sit in complete silence before saying another word. The filing states, and these are the government's exact words, not mine, that it is unknown whether Henley heard these lyrics prior to the murder. The government does not know if Big U ever heard the song. They say so themselves. Inside the same document, they are using to argue he killed someone because of it. Make that shit make sense, homie. You cannot establish motive based on the song. You cannot confirm.
All right, chat. All right, man. We got to, we on a late night grind, man. You know what I'm talking about? I'm watching them likes, man. It's imperative that I push the agenda because, it's important, man. So we got 43 likes in here and we got 152 people in here, man. So I'm going to go ahead and ask at least 50 y'all to hit the like button, gang. Straight like that. You know what I'm saying? On this good Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Y'all want to, get Chicken Little on a nigga tomorrow. That's fine. But on this good Sunday, yeah, man, drop them blessings in and hit that like button, man. And you shall forever be blessed. So make sure y'all hit that like button. Let's go.
the alleged killer ever listened to. That is not a legal argument. That is just logic, my guy. Now let's walk through the cell phone location data, because this is a piece of the government's case that travels further on social media and gets the least scrutiny. Big U's phone stopped reporting location data at approximately 12:58 a.m. when they left the vicinity of the studio. They did not resume reporting until 2:15 a.m. That is a window of roughly 75 minutes with no data. In that window, the government is asking the jury to believe that Big U drove from the studio to the Airbnb, which the government's own test drive established approximately a 17-minute drive, picked up R.W., who came out with a suitcase, drove to a desert location near Interstate 15, committed a murder, dragged their body into a ditch off the highway, and then returned to the area where his phone began reporting again. So Pete, this is here. The government's own.
So that's where it looks bad at, right? Because that time is unaccounted for. You see what I'm saying? Now, I promise y'all, man, y'all got to be smarter criminals than that, bro. I promise you, this is why a lot of black men are in prison, because they're not thinking it all the way through. You see what I'm saying? Most people, well, not most people, because common sense ain't common. You would think people will learn from other people's mistakes, or even shit, watch some of these TV shows. You can't cut off your phone and then cut it back on with X amount of time, bro. Like, that time has to be accounted for. So you got that hour block, that 3-hour block. What was you doing? You see what I'm saying? Most people, oh, well, his phone died. It was still on. You just put it on airplane mode. Come on, bro. The technology that we got, man, they can see all that shit. Let's go.
On filing states that the drive from the Airbnb to the murder location, then back to where the phones resumed reporting, would take roughly 42 minutes. That is drive time alone. No time is factored in for the actual commission of a murder. The physical act of dragging a body from a vehicle down a hill into a ditch, cleaning up blood, cleaning up himself, all kind of shit that happened if Big U really murdered R.W. I'm telling you right now, before it even goes down, Big U's defense attorney puts that matter in front of the jury and asks them, using the government's own numbers, where exactly is the time for everything you are claiming happened in this time window? The government built the timeline. The defense is going to chew it up and spit it out in their faces. The surveillance footage from the Airbnb shows a dark gray silver sedan arriving at 1:13 a.m. R.W. exits the passenger side of the vehicle, goes inside, comes back out at 1:20 a.m. The suitcase, puts it in his trunk, and gets back in the sedan as a passenger. The government's theory is that Big U was the driver of that vehicle, but the footage never identifies the driver. Let me say that there again. The footage never identified the driver. Nobody in the government filings confirmed from the footage itself who was behind the wheel. R.W. exits from the passenger side, which means someone else was in the front passenger seat, or the vehicle only had a driver. If Big U was driving, who was sitting in the front with R.W. when he got out? The filing does not even answer that there. For y'all slow ones in the back, here's why that matters. What a good defense attorney does with unidentified surveillance footage is remind the jury that the government's job is not to present a theory of who was driving, it is to prove it. A dark sedan, an unidentified driver, is not proof of anything beyond the fact that R.W. got into a car. And that shit right there, not even it, homie. The DNA evidence is the most scientifically consequential piece of this case, and also the piece where the government's own language tells the real story most clearly. DNA was collected from R.W.'s ankle and sock area, consistent with the direction in which his body was dragged. The DNA profile obtained was incomplete. The government attributes this to inclement weather at the scene on the night of the murder. When that incomplete profile was compared to Big U's DNA, the result was that he could not be excluded as a contributor. Those 4 words, could not be excluded, are doing an enormous amount of work in this filing, and most people reading it have no idea what they actually mean in scientific context. Could not be excluded does not mean it was his DNA. It does not mean there was a match. It does not mean the sample was consistent with his profile. It means the sample was so degraded by weather that it could not definitively rule anyone out. Not just Big U, anybody. You have got to be crazy to believe that the defense isn't bringing a DNA expert to that stand, who explained to the jury in plain language that the difference between a DNA match and a degraded sample that failed to exclude someone. That distinction, properly explained, is reasonable doubt in itself, homie. The government represents the removal of the recording studio surveillance equipment as one of the most damning pieces of evidence of obstruction and consciousness of guilt in the entire case. Their filing states that an associate identified as DS removed DVR equipment from the studio days after the homicide. 3 relatively new surveillance devices, all security cameras disabled, replacement equipment installed that did not function. They claim Big U ordered witness 1 and witness 2 to leave the premises before the removal took place, and they argued that the missing footage would have shown an altercation between Big U and RW on the night of January 24th, and the two of them leaving together before the murder. Here's the problem with that argument, homie. The government does not have the footage. Nobody has it. The government is asking the jury to infer what destroyed evidence would have shown based on the accounts of the witnesses. The witnesses, they themselves, has acknowledged, have credibility issues. This is a theory based on absence. Big U's attorney is going to stand up and remind that jury that they cannot convict a man based on what evidence might have shown if it still existed. Say, bro, you can't make this shit up. You convict on what the government can actually prove. What is gone, and what is gone cannot be evidence of anything. You heard me? The wiretap calls are the final piece, and they require the most context to understand properly. After the NLVPD detective visited Big U's crib in connection with the 2-year anniversary follow-up on RW's murder, a series of intercepted calls shows Big U reaching out to associates, using encrypted applications for sensitive conversations, meeting people in person rather than talking on monitor phones, and directing family members not to discuss RW with investigators. The government frames every one of these behaviors as consciousness of guilt, but the government's own filing acknowledges that Big U suspected his phones were being wiretapped during that period. A man who believes he is under electronic surveillance, choosing encrypted communication and in-person meetings is not an admission to murder. Telling family members not to speak to law enforcement without counsel is not obstruction of justice. It is the same advice any defense attorney gives every client they have ever represented. Meeting associates face-to-face instead of on the phone you believe is tap is not evidence of a homicide, homie. You can best believe Big U's attorney takes each one of those behaviors and gives the jury an alternative explanation that does not require him to find the defendant guilty of murder. And when every behavior on that wiretap has a reasonable alternative explanation, the government's consciousness of guilt argument loses the weight it needs to carry. This is not speculation. These are all facts. Every single word that I just mentioned is in the factual basis, which was drafted by the fucking government. Yeah, the government has built the case, and I'm not saying they don't have nothing. What I am saying is clearly, directly, and based entirely on what the government's own documents reveal, that the case is built on a compromised witness, a motive theory attached to a song that alleged killer may have never heard, a cell phone timeline that requires accepting the government's map without questioning it, surveillance footage of an unidentified driver, DNA evidence too degraded to be conclusive, destroyed evidence whose contents can only be speculated about, and wiretap calls with multiple reasonable interpretations. The trip part is this year. They're saying Big U is in the middle of a desert. That's what they claim. His phone was off. His phone had no signal. But let me ask you this here. Does your phone have 100% signal while you're in the middle of nowhere? Can't your battery die? Can't your phone need charging? All of this type of shit like that there is what the attorney is going to bring up. You can best believe that, homie. And that right there is what a good defense attorney walks into that courtroom with. And that is what a jury is going to have to weigh. How to get the standard of what feels true out against what the internet has decided. These police dudes like Trap Law Ross, why this man fighting for his life, but against the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt. The defense has not even spoken yet, and when it does, the government's first draft is going to look very different than it does right now. You can best believe me, this case ain't going to end up how you think it will, homie. Shit.
It is definitely getting tricky. Hold on, man. This shit is crazy. But this the thing, right? Hypothetically speaking, what if the truth came out that he was, dating his son, or they had an intimate moment? I mean, would a father go that far to protect his son's image? Would a father, really do something to that altitude because, he a leader, you know what I'm saying? And he didn't want that stain on his image. I mean, what is it? What y'all think, chat? Do you think a father would go out his way to do such a thing like that once he find out that his son may have had been lovers with his best friend? Hold on. Let me see. Here we go.
Online when he was still a teen. Previously touted as a talented player to watch, his career was slow. Close friend of his son, who went on to play for the LA Chargers in the NFL. Highlights of Rayshawn playing had circulated online when he was still a teen. Previously touted as a talented player to watch, his career was slowed by a knee injury that had him off the field for a whole season. He was apparently being courted by UCLA until his injury, and by 2018, he would officially no longer be on the team. Big U had reportedly not only coached Rayshawn in football growing up, but Rayshawn actually lived with Big U and his family for a brief period during high school, with Big U actually kicking him out after he stole a chain from his son and wore it to school. But despite the apparent brief fallout, Big U was allegedly still playing a supportive role in Rayshawn's life as he tried to find another career path following his football injury, and it would seem that he decided to give music a try. Rapping under the name Young Judah, from May 2020, he would tease his upcoming musical debut in the form of an EP called Golden Dreams, which dropped in June 2020. Clearly an aspirational title, Rayshawn had high hopes for his rap career, continuing to tease his project as months went by. Unfortunately, his music wasn't really hitting. He would post snippets of songs that he had made on his IG, and things weren't exactly industry ready. In one song, he called himself Ray Hustle, an ironic reference to Big U's other murdered protege, Nipsey Hussle. As time went on, Rayshawn would post more snippets, and he seemed to be improving as a rapper song by song, even turning on the auto-tune and having a crack at making more emotional pain music. Despite not having success off music yet, Rayshawn was already living the high life, posting pictures of himself chilling in luxury properties. Curiously, he would make one post with a caption saying that some people think that he's rude. Anyway, he continued to experiment, dropping more snippets of music that he'd been working on, and showing himself in Las Vegas on numerous trips throughout 2020. But apparently behind the scenes, there was some kind of disagreement between Rayshawn and Big U, who had been apparently trying to help him get his music career going. Big U was apparently bankrolling Rayshawn's trips to a studio in Las Vegas to record music, but he was seemingly using his time in the wrong kind of ways. According to the criminal complaint, on January the 20th, 2021, Rayshawn allegedly recorded a diss song where he seemed to suggest that someone would get shot in the face over money, with feds making the suggestion that he was actually dissing Big U. It being believed that there was a dispute over Rayshawn wasting Big U's studio time and not making the most of the time that he had been gifted, with reports from another person involved in organizing the studio sessions that Rayshawn had been skipping out and having too much fun during a week where he was supposed to be making a song a day. The day after the alleged diss song, Rayshawn releases a different song as a snippet to his Instagram, where he indeed seems to be dissing someone, rapping about how he doesn't need to hate someone he's disagreeing with, but he wishes them the best, and dismissing any criticism that they've made, saying how he doesn't hear it and they should say it with their chest, ending with a sly lyric saying that he's supporting his friends by buying all their merch, and dissing someone for being a snitch and saying how they would get killed for that. It's unclear if any of these lyrics were indeed intended as a sneak diss towards Big U, as he wasn't mentioned specifically. However, the Instagram post that included this song, eerily, was the only one on his page that Big U had liked publicly. It's highly possible that he perceived this as disrespect and was letting Rayshawn know that he had his eye on him. According to the criminal complaint, it's alleged that 2 days later, on January the 21st, interestingly, this being Big U's daughter's birthday, Big U and Faye, aka Robinson, drove from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, arriving at the studio unexpectedly, causing the studio security to be confused and ask a lot of questions. According to the later full indictment, Big U had gone there to confront Rayshawn about his lack of production during the allotted studio time. Then, later going to Rayshawn's Airbnb at 2 a.m. to ask him why he hadn't been at the studio the previous day and calling him out for disrespecting the Big U enterprise. The next day, on January the 24th, and into the night of the 25th, Big U was at a recording studio with Rayshawn and somebody else known only as Witness 2. Big U arrived at the studio around 7:04 p.m., with Rayshawn arriving an hour or two later, recording a song from 11 p.m. until midnight, but clearly, whatever Rayshawn recorded or said didn't quite cut it for Big U, and things were about to get dark. Then, at 12:37 a.m., Big U left the studio, apparently driving Rayshawn back to his Airbnb. During this journey, at 12:58 a.m., Big U's phones were turned off. Interestingly, in a 2021 Drink Champs interview, Big U had mentioned how phone data makes it impossible to get away with crimes these days.
The unique thing is, because of the way we are right now, we'll never have these stories. Because the camera ain't gonna let it, the one on the street corner. The phone ain't gonna let it, the one that's telling everything. And it's just not, these stories will become what the mafia stories were.
But anyway, perhaps some kind of conversation on that ride between Rayshawn and Big U took a bad turn, leading U to make a decision to do something extreme. By 1:13 a.m., Big U had pulled up to the spot where Rayshawn was staying, with Rayshawn spending 10 minutes gathering his belongings and returning to the car with a suitcase. Despite being scheduled to stay at the Airbnb another day, based on the details and the paperwork, Big U would drive with Rayshawn to a location on the I-15 highway. Allegedly, it was here that he would pull off the road, shooting Rayshawn dead and dragging his body into a remote spot off the highway into the desert of Las Vegas near a landfill, with the later indictment showing an image of the crime scene where the body had been found with multiple gunshot wounds to the head. Investigators did test drives to prove that the drive to the location where the body was found matched the amount of time that it would have taken from the car departing from Rayshawn's B&B and then from the murder location to where Big U's phone was turned back on, and started reporting location data once again, which was around 2:15 a.m. Within an hour of turning his phone back on, Big U returned to the recording studio covered in sweat, telling those there that he had just been to the gym. Interestingly, days later, Big U demanded the removal of all surveillance and recording equipment and evidence from the studio after he left, with detectives believing that the footage would have shown an altercation between Big U and Rayshawn that took place before the murder. In the early hours of the morning after the murder, according to the paperwork, Big U would leave Las Vegas for Los Angeles, with North Las Vegas Police Department agents discovering the body in the desert near the Apex landfill the following morning, with cops immediately theorizing that the murder had taken place right at the side of the I-15 roadway based on their discovery of blood and drag marks leading to where the body was found. A News 3 Las Vegas article would immediately report the news, telling the public how the police had received a call from a member of the public who found a body laying in a deserted area near Las Vegas and Clark Peterson Boulevard near the Apex. This is a barren and open desert space, which while deserted, doesn't seem like a place a body would be hard to miss out in the open in the daytime, but it's likely that Big U drove off this unmarked verge on the edge of the I-15 in the darkness of night, thinking that this would be a remote place to drag and leave the body, perhaps not realizing that this was right next to quite literally the largest and busiest landfill in the entire world, with Big U arriving back in Los Angeles an hour after the body was found in the Vegas desert. NLVPD would break the tragic news to Rayshawn's mother, who provided more backstory, telling them that Big U and Rayshawn were close and how he would usually call his mother weekly. But after the murder, the calls abruptly stopped, and Rayshawn's mother had apparently called Big U to confront him after the disappearance of her son, with Big U denying that he'd seen or heard from him. Big U even tried to cover his tracks by replying to an Instagram DM from Rayshawn the day after the murder, but nothing happened for 2 years, it would seem. And what's really fascinating is that Big U was right back to...
All right, so, just for the mother that's in the live right now, right? Catch this game, right? The football coach take your son out of town, and, he managing him in music because, he injured his leg. He want to do the music. This is his son's best friend or whatever like that. You know what I'm saying? He take him out of town, put him in the studio, put him in an Airbnb, right? All of a sudden, he tell his mom, Coach, you finna take me to Vegas. We finna do some music and all this shit, recording. You signed him as an artist. You know what I'm saying? So his mama know he was going out there with you. By the time you come back, her son don't come back, right? And then he's saying he ain't seen him. But he died in Vegas. You see what I'm saying? What would a mother think? You know what I'm saying? Like, nigga, he didn't die in California. He got killed in the desert. So, he came out there with you. You sent him out there. I could see why his Rayshawn mama would accuse him, but that's not all the way fact. You don't know who he was out there with. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of unanswered situations. But this is my thing, right? I didn't seen so far with this situation where everybody's saying, Big U is guilty. He's innocent until proven guilty, right? But when you look at this shit, any mother in her right mind would be like, nigga, my son got killed in Vegas. He left with you and didn't come back with you. Why would I not blame you? You see what I'm saying? Because I've seen a lot of people on the last videos that when it first came out that they was trying to say, oh, she's just overreacting. It's just common sense, gang. You know what I'm saying? You send your son out of town with somebody and he come back without your son, and your son die, you automatically assume that person has something to do with it. Let's go. Hey, man, it's 275 people here, man. Let's get them lights up. Let's go.
business after this alleged incident, arriving back to Los Angeles and beginning to promote his upcoming documentary, Hip Hop Uncovered, due to be released in a matter of weeks on FX. Meanwhile, the Crenshaw High football Instagram page would announce the death of their former wide receiver, Rayshawn Williams. His teammates would pay tribute to him in their Twitters, but curiously, Big U didn't once acknowledge the death of this young man who had been so close to him and his family for years. Weirdly, Big U never acknowledged this death.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Hey, look, he's never spoke on Rayshawn Williams. He even spoke on Nipsey Hussle after Nipsey died. But Rayshawn Williams, he have not spoke on him. And I promise y'all the rumors about, I didn't make this shit up. I'm telling y'all the facts. The rumors is Big U found out that Rayshawn was dating his son. Allegedly. Rumors. This is just content. It's already all over the internet. I'm not putting it out there. But I know if I'm a gang leader and a nigga trying to, put his hot dog in my son's motherfucking chili bag and shit, hell no, nigga. Yeah, nah, it's over. You know what I'm saying? You walk in and these two niggas laying in the bed kissing each other or some shit. Oh, no, man. Hell no, man. Hey, but, shit, a lot of these little youngsters out here, and for all the parents out here and shit, hey, you know how your son always, leave that door open. Leave that door open. Hell no, that's somebody's son right there. Y'all ain't finna be closing the motherfucking door. Just you two niggas in here. He got his drawers on. You got your drawers on and shit. And what the fuck are you closing the door for? What the fuck I got going on in here? Hell no, open that motherfucking door. Nigga, ain't no girls in here. Open that door. And it smell like sweat and must in here. What y'all been doing? Huh? You don't like chili on your hot dog, do you? I don't even eat chili. Daddy up. All right, because somebody's the bender and somebody's the enter. So, yeah, nah. Smell like shit in here. Damn, who farted? Open up one of the motherfucking windows and shit. Why it smell like shit in here? Oh, them little chunky junk. I ain't gonna hurt nobody. Yeah, hell no. Shit. Hell no. Hey. You two boys know. Hey, keep that door open. Don't give me that shit. Keep that door open. Hell no, niggas. Smell like shit in here, man. Let's go.
Of someone so close to him, but when Gilly's son Cheese was killed, he made a heartfelt post on the Unique Music account pleading, "Why are we losing our sons to the streets?" But then again, this could have been trolling, as Big U in the 60s were rumored to have robbed Gilly and his son years earlier, and U would post other tributes to other deceased youngsters that his friends had lost, but curiously, nothing about Rayshawn. But as the days went,
attention homeowners, I want to buy your house.
That's crazy.
Right now, as is, no matter what condition it's in. And not only do I want to buy your
on, Big U would...
That's crazy. See, they could track, if they could track that he respond to all these other people besides Rayshawn Williams, that gives motive. You see what I'm saying? That gives motive. You know what I'm saying? That, come on, niggas. Why not? This was your son's best friend. These niggas was together every day. You see what I'm saying? Anybody think like, wait a minute, nigga, you don't even know Gilly's son. You know what I'm saying? This nigga lived in your house. You practically raised this little nigga. He died and no response? What you got to hide, nigga? Was you mad? You know what I'm saying? This nigga was still a kid. Let's go.
Continue to promote his upcoming FX documentary. He was enjoying his newfound fame, posting a clip of himself getting lint rolled by the wardrobe department, showing the world that he was now a superstar 60.
You did it before? Go ahead. I'm a hug you. You're about to put a Sephora in the 60. Over here. Get over here.
On February the 8th, he would post a cryptic message saying that nobody cares about the truth when the lie is more entertaining. After this, Big U would take to Instagram again to celebrate a billboard for his show placed on Sunset Boulevard, even pulling up to the scene to make a video saying that people are saying that they should stay away from Big U.
Trick. What? They say stay away from Big U, cuz. They lying, because look, Big U got us on the billboard on Sunset. Sunset. He on Sunset.
You see that? All up in that mic. You see that motherfucker say,
Hey!
Big U was laughing at his haters and seemingly sneaking a shot at Nipsey Hussle, saying the marathon continues.
The marathon continues, goddammit.
This was the opposite of laying low. Big U was soaking up
that's fucked up. That's
the spotlight despite allegedly killing a close family friend less than a month before this, and the spotlight would shine brighter when eventually Hip Hop Uncovered would drop on February the 12th, 2021. Big U would tease part of the upcoming show, posting a clip where Wiz Khalifa described him as the Godfather and claiming that you can't do anything in rap without Big U being consulted.
If I was to describe Big U's role in rap, he would definitely be the Godfather. Can't do nothing without consulting him. He's the only guy who does move how he moves. He was involved with Nipsey. He had a relationship with Death Row.
People from certain neighborhoods' names would ring bells, and his name was ringing a lot of bells.
U was at the top of the game within just weeks.
Damn, cuz. Hey, man, you know, y'all got to realize, gang, like when you take that path, bro, it don't last forever. You might get a good 10-year run, you know what I'm saying? Some shit like that. But when it all fall down, man, nigga, it's life. You know what I'm saying? You will become a memory. You know what I'm saying? Nobody go remember this. You know what's so crazy about time and shit? Nigga, 30 years from now, nobody's going to be even mentioning the legacy. You see what I'm saying? Especially if he's locked up for the rest of his life. You know, it's niggas from the fucking 60s right now and in the 70s. We heard like stories about their name, but nigga, that's it. Every 10 years, somebody might mention their name and shit. Bro, I don't think his name is going to last longer than Nip. I'm gonna be honest with you. Nipsey got Nipsey Hussle Square. You know that. Now that's gonna be there 100 years. You know, Big U legacy might perish. You know, but once again, we got 300 people up in here. Let me check and see if y'all niggas hitting these likes though, man. That's important to me. All right, we got 300 people and 144 likes. Man, on this good Sunday, man, go ahead and drop that blessing and hit that like button if you love your mama. On this good Sunday, man. Hit that like button, man. Let's get back to the content, dog. That's some cold game, boy. Let's go.
Soaking up the spotlight despite allegedly killing a close family friend less than a month before this, and the spotlight would shine brighter when eventually Hip Hop Uncovered would drop on February the 12th, 2021. Big U would tease part of the upcoming show, posting a clip where Wiz Khalifa described him as the Godfather and claiming that you can't do anything in rap without Big U being consulted.
If I was to describe Big U's role in rap, he would definitely be the Godfather. Can't do nothing without consulting him. He's the only guy who does move how he moves. He was involved with Nipsey. He had a relationship with Death Row.
People from certain neighborhoods' names would ring bells, and his name was ringing a lot of bells.
U was at the top of the game within just weeks of this alleged murder, and now his story was being broadcast to millions of people on television. Hip Hop Uncovered would break down the life story of Big U in selective detail. It would include interesting tidbits, like a segment where he said that if he doesn't answer the phone, it can mean somebody dies.
People don't understand that sometimes if I don't answer the phone, it can be death for somebody else.
One of Big U's closest confidants and future co-defendant, Bearclaw, would even congratulate him on Instagram with a caption saying, "When you sit down and put your mind to it, anything is possible." But clearly behind the scenes, there was pressure on Big U. He would make a post at the start of March, seemingly angry about people coming to him with negative questions and saying that he wants people to keep him out of silly stuff, notably with the comments turned off. He'd post more cryptic statements to Instagram, like this one that says that he respects any man who can heal a heart that he didn't break and raise a child that he didn't make. Perhaps a coded admission of failure, alluding to efforts to help Rayshawn with his football coaching and a rap career that ultimately he didn't have the patience to complete. The later criminal complaint would recount a recorded conversation where Big U allegedly seemed to allude to killing a kid who disrespected him and calling out people who thought he was retired. Ultimately, Big U might have just made the biggest mistake of his life, but it would be years before people...
Oh, shit! Oh, that's that Title III wiretap. Why? Oh, no. Hey, man, I'm going to keep it all the way Fendi with you. I remember, like, man, nigga, I remember Big U said, nigga, look, when it hit the internet, man, it's fair game. But he was always, Big U would say shit like, niggas be talking too much on this internet. Bro, he have said a lot on these podcasts, man. The game go for him too. You know what I'm saying? But this is the thing. He didn't know he was being white. He didn't, man, that's probably why they got him and they wouldn't let him out on no bond. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Damn, that's crazy work, bro. Let me double back and hear it. Let me make sure my ears did not just hear that. Hold on. Let's go.
Cryptic statements to Instagram, like this one that says that he respects any man who can heal a heart that he didn't break and raise a child that he didn't make. Perhaps a coded admission of failure, alluding to efforts to help Rayshawn with his football coaching and a rap career that ultimately he didn't have the patience to complete. The later criminal complaint would recount a recorded conversation where Big U allegedly seemed to allude to killing a kid who disrespected him and calling out people who thought he was retired. Ultimately, Big U might have just made the biggest mistake of his life, but it would be years before people truly found out all the sordid details of this deadly seemed to allude to killing a kid who disrespected coaching and a rap career that ultimately he didn't have the patience to complete. The later criminal complaint would recount a recorded conversation where Big U...
A recorded conversation, y'all. A recorded conversation of him killing a kid. Man, you know what? If he come out guilty, I mean, if they convict him of this shit, I wonder how the streets go take that shit. I want a nigga be like, man, that's still my homeboy. I wonder, you know what I'm saying? That's crazy work, bro. And it's on the paperwork, though.
Perhaps a coded admission of failure, alluding to efforts to help Rayshawn with his football coaching and a rap career that ultimately he didn't have the patience to complete. The later criminal complaint would recount a recorded conversation where Big U allegedly seemed to allude to killing a kid who disrespected him and calling out people who thought he was retired. Ultimately, Big U might have just made the biggest mistake of his life, but it would be years before people truly found out all the sordid details of this deadly case. And in those years, not only did more extortion and pressing take place, but the chaos of LA streets would find its way to the podcast world, culminating in a dramatic downfall as several high-profile social media figures slowly pieced together the details of this murder and aired it out on podcasts for the whole world to hear, until finally the Fed stepped in and brought things to an explosive end.
Wow, that's nasty work, gang. Woo! Man, rest in peace to Rayshawn Williams, man. I definitely want to say that Big U is still innocent until proven guilty. We're going to leave it right there, chat. Make sure y'all hit the like button on y'all way out, man. You know, let's get this through the algorithm, man, and let's get this shit going. But anyway, yeah, on this good Sunday, man, y'all make sure y'all hype up this video, and I'm going to see you on the next one, man. I got to get to the studio. All right, let's go.